My boyfriend cheated on me with my ugly autistic sister and they swear they're in love. I just found out she's pregnant with his baby. I was in a relationship with a man named Sebastian. He had the bad boy vibes. I thought life was improving for me since I was finally reunited with my siblings after being split up from being in care. I'll admit the relationship with Sebastian wasn't always healthy. He would put me down whenever I tried to better myself and would make fun of the scars on my arms when intoxicated sometimes, but I loved him. He sometimes said I was always going to be that crappy teenager that no one likes. Sebastian would say the cruelest words, but he would say the sweetest things to make up for it. My relationship with my twin Jackson and my older sister Astoria wasn't perfect. Astoria suffers from autism and is a miracle child and always brags about it. Due to her autism, she has no social boundaries too and always intrudes in other people's business. One day I came home from work. By this point, I hadn't seen my sister in about 2 weeks, so I thought I would pop into her apartment and give her a surprise, maybe order a takeout. When I went over, I saw my boyfriend's car parked outside the apartment complex. He's a f to all my siblings. So I thought they were hanging out. Imagine my disgust and horror and surprise. I was hearing intimacy noises, I was feeling sick, but I was trying to convince myself it was just a movie. I walked in on them unclothed on the living room floor doing the deed. A huge shouting match occurred between myself and my sister, and God, I was so tempted to just slap her. I was feeling so many emotions. Astoria tried saying sorry, but she fell in love with him. Sebastian didn't even look me in the eye. The flipping coward, am I right? I told her point blank that I don't have any respect for her and she reminds me of our addict mother. I let it all out, the years of her being a miracle child and rubbing it in our faces, the years of her being socially inept and not respecting my boundaries. She was crying. She called me a bitch and saying I got everything and that I can't even support that she's finally happy. Yeah, she is happy, but at my expense. I told her to go F herself, and when I finally got home where my brother Jackson is, he laid it into me, saying I took it too far, and that I know Astoria hasn't had it easy. He said the most gut-wrenching thing I have ever heard to date: you know you aren't easy to love. I honestly wanted to throw up. It's having every dark thought of yourself and being validated by the person who should always be on your side. Update: I thought things would remain stagnant since I decided I was going to go no contact with my twin brother Jackson and my older sister Astoria. Well, imagine my surprise to find out that she's 2 months pregnant with Sebastian's baby, and Astoria has been sleeping with my then boyfriend Sebastian for over 6 long months. I'm so furious and I'm gutted, and never in my entire life do I want to wish all the horrible things to happen in my entire life. Jackson had the nerve to tell me that this baby can be a good thing and if I want I should be the baby godmother. I'm not wasting my salary on this baby, no way. Jackson also said I should apologize to them because I could make Astoria lose the baby from all this stress. Also recently myself and my older brother Elliot, who I'm staying with, have been coming home to poop being smeared on the door. Human poop. Isn't that lovely? At first, I honestly didn't think it could be them because how low and how much do you lack dignity to do this? So Elliot and I installed some cameras around the property and we watched in action dear old Sebastian taking a poop outside our door and smearing it on the door. Now obviously we did the responsible thing after freaking, gagging and again cleaning up more poop. We went to the police, but they weren't all that concerned, saying, he's just a boy getting over his breakup and do I really want to ruin his life? That doesn't make any sense. Elliot, the best big brother that he is, kept complaining until they finally gave my ex Sebastian a warning. Astoria and Jackson are claiming ignorance that they didn't know Sebastian would do this, but I'm calling cap. So after dealing with all this stress, it turns out my new friend from work went missing. I'm just hoping she's passed out from a night out or something. Astoria also messaged me angrily saying I'm trying to win Sebastian back. Yes, because I want the poop gladiator back in my life. Only blessing in disguise is that Jackson has been mostly silent. My disgusting husband gave me the ICK after he kissed my amazing sister-in-law and confessed his feelings for her. I found out he only married me to be close to her. I've been married to my husband for 4 years and have been together since high school. We've had our ups and downs, but we also work through them and they don't last long. Now, things are a mess and I don't know what to do. My brother and his wife have also been together since high school. They usually visit us very often because my brother and I have been extremely close since we were kids. He's always there for me and I love him with all my heart. His wife is also such a wonderful person and one of my best friends. She's truly made herself part of the family and you can tell she really loves my brother. Going on double dates with them was something I always looked forward to and I enjoyed every minute of our hangouts. We've all gotten along until 2 weeks ago when my brother invited us for drinks to celebrate his wife's birthday. It was going okay at first, we talked about having kids, our jobs, and generally caught up. Then, my husband ended up drinking way too much and he started flirting with my sister-in-law. He called her pretty, said she had the body of a model, how kids would ruin her perfect shape, and more. She was obviously uncomfortable and started going quiet, but this only made him continue. I told him to stop multiple times, but he said he was just telling the truth. My brother started getting irritated and told him to stop as well. The more we said that, the more he continued making weird comments about how she looks hot in a bikini. And she is in so many people's spank banks. My sister-in-law was on the verge of tears and got up to leave. My brother told him he was a disgusting pervert and he needs to leave. That's when my husband exploded and let everything out. He told my brother how much he hated him and wished he was dead. Then went on to confess how much he loves my sister-in-law and wishes he would have ended up with her. What's worse is he decided to kiss/touch my sister-in-law. She freaked out and my brother kicked us out. I apologized a lot to my brother and dragged my husband out of there. He was intoxicated out of his mind and I didn't even want to sleep in the same bed as him. I locked myself in our room and cried myself to sleep. The next day, I told my husband everything that happened and demanded an explanation. He confessed that he did have feelings for my sister-in-law and was resentful of my brother because of it. He told me that he loved me and would never cheat on me. He was intoxicated and what he did was a mistake. He apologized over and over again for his behavior, promised me he loved me and wanted to be with me. I don't know why he thinks a simple sorry is going to get me to love him again. I'm so disgusted with him for saying everything he did and for harboring these feelings for my sister-in-law. He also apologized to my brother and sister-in-law, but they aren't happy. His behavior was awful, inappropriate, and borderline assault. It also makes me feel bad that he hates my brother. I decided to have a talk with my brother and he admitted he isn't comfortable having my husband around anymore, especially around his wife. She's really shaken up by what happened and cried about being sexualized beyond belief. I understand completely and will definitely keep them separate from my husband. I just hope my relationship with them isn't ruined because my husband was an a-hole. I don't know what to do about Jack's confession either. It honestly makes me feel sick to my stomach. It all came out of nowhere. Everything was great before this, we were all friends. Now my husband apparently loves another woman and wishes my brother was dead. I want to salvage this because I do love Jack, but I have no idea where to start. I wanted to save this relationship, but after sitting down and really thinking about what happened and how it made me feel, I knew there was no way of me being able to stay with him. This whole thing made me feel disgusted, hurt, and angry. It made me feel like an idiot. It broke my heart. I decided to have a talk with him and somewhere along the line he admitted that he only married me to be closer to my sister-in-law. From day one of our relationship, it's been a ploy to stay close to her. Not only is this devastating to me, but it's extremely creepy and I feel bad that my sister-in-law ever had to be around him. His intentions were almost predatory. Who knows what he would have done to her if her husband and I hadn't been there to intervene. I honestly think he would have done some truly horrible things to her, given the chance. When I told him I was rethinking this entire marriage, he begged me to stay, promised to love me, and said he could get over my sister-in-law because he wanted me. I find that incredibly hard to believe since he never got over her after being with me for so many years. Why would it change now? Because he could no longer see her since she thinks he's an absolute creep? He knows he blew his chance with her forever and now he has to settle for me. I'm just done with him. He's been lying to me for years. He's creepy, horrible, and I can't live with him knowing what he did and how he truly feels. My entitled mother-in-law wants to come on our honeymoon because she's in love with my husband and is jealous we'll be alone for weeks. She promised to make my life a living hell if she can't come. My future mother-in-law has a very unhealthy relationship with my fiancé because she makes him feel uncomfortable. She's constantly hugging him, kissing him, and also using him as her therapist. She's been doing this since he was young, using him to help her solve her adult problems. She has made it a habit to copy what I do to my fiancé. For instance, if I kiss his cheek she'll find a way to do the same. I thought I was going crazy when I first noticed she did this, so I tested it out by running my fingers through his hair and she did the same thing. My fiancé is in therapy and says they have an emotionally incestuous relationship, which is toxic for them both. He's trying to set boundaries with her so they can have a healthy relationship. So far it's not really working since she doesn't understand why she can't force him to hug, kiss, or use him to help with her issues anymore. She cornered me at my future brother-in-law's housewarming party and told me she feels like her and my fiancé's relationship isn't the same anymore, so she'd like to come on our honeymoon because he'll be off work and they can talk things through and bond. Obviously I said no, that's not happening, and this grown woman was genuinely shocked I said no. She kept asking why, what are you guys going to be doing that her and future father-in-law can't be with us? She got the idea from Facebook because she saw that people have honeymoons with their friends now. I said we haven't had 2 weeks to just be together since my fiancé got promoted at work a year ago, we're both looking forward to being together. She said why can't we all just be together, we won't be all that busy since we've been to the country we're honeymooning countless times, we've seen all the tourist attractions etc, so why can't she come? She kept pestering me and I flat out told her I'd be having intimacy with her son all day every day, on every inch of that villa, so we won't really have time for all the things she wants to do with my fiancé. I thought this would make her uncomfortable and she'd realize how crazy her request is. I was wrong. She said intimacy isn't that exciting for us to spend all our honeymoon doing it. There's only so many positions, she said. She offered a compromise for us. She'd come on the second week of our honeymoon and bond with her son since he has a high-stress job and is constantly working. She even said we can be as loud as we want, they won't mind. I told her we'd just like to be alone enjoying each other's company, and we can plan a holiday next year. She then told her husband, who called me to personally ask if they can come for 5 days at least so that they could bond with my fiancé. He said they're not as close as they used to be. I explained that we would be busy and we could plan a holiday next year. He seemed to understand but then messaged me at 1 a.m. today to call me an a-hole who doesn't care I'm ruining a mother and son's relationship. I'm just setting boundaries and they're not understanding that. Then, my future sister-in-law called to tell me her mother's been crying for days because of what I said to her. She says to avoid more drama I should just give in because her mother will make my life a living hell. Well, that definitely convinced me. I don't know who this family thinks they are or why they don't see how weird my mother-in-law acts with my fiancé. My narcissistic ex-boyfriend poisoned me over a LinkedIn bio, but he accidentally gave me a golden ticket to Harvard. Basically my high school rival was a guy named Nathan. He and I were super similar, we were co-presidents of the same clubs, had similar academic portfolios, had done research papers together, and we spent a lot of time together, so despite being known as academic enemies, Nathan and I were actually in a relationship for 2 years of high school. Now those were years that I really valued and enjoyed. Nathan took pretty much all my firsts. But, once the time for college applications rolled around, Nathan dumped me, saying that he needed to focus if he wanted to get into Harvard and he couldn't be distracted with me. This made me upset for a number of reasons, mainly because he called our 2-year relationship a distraction but also because Harvard was also my dream school, and I didn't appreciate the way Nathan just assumed he would get in over me. And so, just like that, our academic rivalry was back and we each had something to prove. But I never could have prepared myself for the lengths Nathan would go to, just to beat me. Everything went downhill at this debate competition, a 4-day international conference in DC that we had been preparing for all year. This was the final big competition before college applications were due and our final chance to prove that we belonged at an Ivy League school. Everyone was tense, not just me and Nathan. And everyone wanted to win. But wanting to win will never excuse what Nathan did, even though I'm incredibly grateful for it, because his stupidity changed my life drastically for the better. It first started on the train to DC when Nathan changed seats so that we would be next to each other. It was a little awkward, but I thought that this was just Nathan's way of trying to apologize for all the unpleasant tension between us, so I let my guard down and didn't think anything suspicious of it. For the remainder of the trip, Nathan tried acting like a friend. That train ride, he treated me like he used to. We spent time studying together, laughed over some inside jokes, and we even practiced our speeches in front of each other. I started to think this competition would be good for us, to make him realize that we couldn't lose our friendship over just school, and dare I say give our relationship another shot. By the end of the train ride, things almost felt normal, and it felt almost natural when Nathan showed up to my hotel room the next morning with a cup of coffee for me. Him getting me breakfast while I was running late really felt like progress, especially since that was something we used to do for each other when we were still together. It even made me start daydreaming about maybe even being in a relationship with him again. All felt right in the world, that was until I noticed something had changed in me. About halfway through the first day of the conference, I felt like I was in a hyper-focused mode, as if someone had filtered out the white noise in my brain and just left the sharpest, most productive parts behind. When I gave impromptu speeches, I found myself having extra time to think as if time was going by slightly slower than usual. And when the time for questions came, I asked the most precise, detail-oriented questions that highlighted major flaws in my opponent's arguments. Unfortunately, Nathan fell into this category. Somehow, I was beating everyone in the debate room, including him. By the second night, it was obvious that I was going to win. I was just hoping this wouldn't cause a rift in our friendship because we were just starting to become close again. But all my concerns melted away because the next morning, Nathan came to my room and gave me a morning coffee to prep me for the day, even though he was somewhat agitated. So 3 days in a row, Nathan brought me coffee, competed against me during the day, and chilled at night. But on the fourth and final day of the competition, everything was even more tense than usual. My anxiety only grew when Nathan failed to deliver me a morning coffee. I tried not to think anything of it initially because it could have just been a coincidence, but then, Nathan didn't show up to the debate at all. He completely skipped the final day of the competition. That's when I knew something was wrong. I ran to his hotel room the second the committee session ended. After banging on his door for 5 minutes straight, he finally let me in, but the moment I stepped inside, Nathan exploded at me, asking how it was possible for me to be performing so well. I was going to make some lighthearted joke because I genuinely had no idea how I managed to improve so much in just 4 days. Everything that happened during this conference put all my other work these past 4 years to shame, which was saying a lot since my senior year was the best I had ever performed. But I never got a word out, because Nathan immediately went on a chauvinistic, narcissistic tangent and revealed something truly insane. He had been trying to sabotage me from the very first day. Apparently he felt that this competition was the perfect thing to round out his application, and he really wanted it on his LinkedIn biography so he could call himself an international debate champion, and so he had played dirty to try to win. What I thought was old friends catching up over a cup of coffee was actually Nathan giving me lace coffee to make me lose the competition. At least that's what he thought. Nathan told me that he had tried to intentionally buy me coffee with psychedelics and legal psilocybin alternatives in it, hoping that it would make me loopy, distracted, and confused. But I knew the coffee he had given me was the opposite of psychedelic. If anything, it was focus-enhancing, and I felt ultra-productive. I asked Nathan for the exact coffee brand he had bought and looked it up to confirm what I already knew, that the psychedelic coffee he bought had nothing to do with psychedelics. It was simply a mushroom coffee fusion blend. It was called Clarity Brew, and from the name I could sort of understand why Nathan might think that it was for a psychedelic type of clarity, but the actual product description made it clear that this coffee was a blessing, not a curse. The mushrooms Nathan had thought would hurt my chances of winning this competition were chaga mushrooms and lion's mane, which botanists will know are just cognitive power banks for the mind. I respected Nathan wholeheartedly until this point, but never in my life did I think that he would be capable of such a low-level Sigma IQ move. And even though Nathan had basically tried to poison me with his coffee, it worked so well on me that once I was done yelling at him, I took the Clarity Brew with me to confiscate it, only to bring it all the way home so I could continue using the coffee until the end of senior year. That was when I discovered that the coffee didn't just make me more productive, it gave me long-lasting energy and naturally minimized the jittery effects of caffeine. Nathan had basically bought me super coffee in an attempt to drag me down. To no one's surprise, I won the competition and was later accepted to Harvard. Nathan was not. We still text sometimes, and he's apologized a lot for what he did. I've even started connecting him to a few people at Harvard to help him out with some research opportunities because I just want to be the bigger person here. Hopefully one day, he'll be the same way. Edit. Okay, wait, thanks so much for all the comments. I think you guys are right about him just using me for networking. I've decided to block Nathan and cut contact with him permanently, because you're right, he lost the privilege of being my friend the day he tried to drug me. Though yes, I still do take Clarity Brew. Sister's perspective, my boyfriend cheated on me with my ugly autistic sister and they swear they're in love. I just found out she's pregnant with his baby. Ever since I was little, I've always felt like the lesser sibling, especially compared to my brother who was always better at school. Being a miracle child as well as autistic made me socially inept and I was not able to make friends, but I thank the heavens I was alive every day. Eventually my brother managed to make a friend. This guy was so smart in an underrated way, good with his hands, and he was popular. He even defended me from one of my foster parents, though he was always called bad news. I had a huge crush on him and even was working on building up the courage to ask him out when I realized he was taken by my sister. The two were thick as thieves, he could handle her toxic behavior and her outbursts. She was able to keep up with how cool he is. That was until my younger sister got her apprenticeship. She said it was a good thing, she would get work qualifications and money. She suddenly didn't have time for any of us anymore, saying she was tired and busy and said that I would understand when I got a job. I am on benefits right now due to my autism making me incapable of work. Sebastian, her then boyfriend, was always hanging about my place since she was working practically every day. When we talked, we could talk for hours. It just made me realize all those feelings I had those years ago was more than a crush, it was love. Sebastian admitted it and we have been together ever since. It's true love, I've never been happier. I mean, it's finally my turn to get rewarded after all of the crap I've been through. Almost dying at birth makes you appreciate life so much. I'm the one who truly understands Sebastian, the only other one who can possibly understand him is his best friend who is my brother. They have a really strong bond, they would do anything for each other. Sebastian and I have been together for a while now. He was still in a relationship with her but he did not care. However, one day as me and my sweet Sebastian were making love, my sister caught up and she was furious. I have never seen her so angry and I could not understand why. I was the one Sebastian loved, not her. I was the one he would plow from the back, he only did starfish sex with her. She kept yelling at me. I tried to say it just happened. She can't stop love from blooming and it could be a good thing. She needs to accept what has happened. I've also been thinking maybe I should report her to her work for her cruel behavior.
What are some psychological facts about love? When people in love stare into each other's eyes, their heartbeat syncs together. Receiving a text message from someone you love lights up the same area of your brain stimulated by addictive substances such as cocaine. Doing something scary together helps you to bond romantically. Otherwise known as the case for adrenaline dates. When someone tries to impress you, it means they are already impressed by you. Holding hands with someone you love can alleviate physical pain as well as stress and fear. Not arguing at all in a relationship represents a lack of interest. People who care about one another tend to argue now and again. Couples who are too similar to each other are not likely to last. People are biased to turn their heads to the right when a kiss is initiated. Your sense of smell plays a huge role in love. The smell is tied very slowly to memory. People who use emojis in their texts are perceived as more likable. When you become really close to someone, you can hear their voice in your head when you read their texts. Just by looking at the picture of your beloved one, you can feel a sense of relief. Most people fall in love with the idea of love, not the other person. The longer couples are together, the less likely they are to say, "I love you." If you want to know if someone loves you, look at his or her eyes. The pupil expands as much as 45% when we are in love. You're most likely to fall in love with someone if you first meet them in a dangerous situation. It takes only 4 minutes to fall in love. The brain falls in love, not the heart. Love not only makes you blind, but also dumb. A man with a good sense of humor is actually intelligent and honest. This is the reason women are attracted to men with good humor. Refer to someone by their name when you're giving them a compliment. Cuddling is a natural painkiller. When two people cuddle or hug each other, the brain releases oxytocin hormones that help in headache and calms you down for up to 4 hours.
What is the fastest way you have seen someone completely destroy their life? Less than a month after my 6th wedding anniversary with my husband, I found a video on his tablet from a hidden camera in our bathroom. It showed my 14-year-old niece. She was unclothed. It looked like he kept the image on the cloud and would add it to whatever device he was using and then delete it. He just missed that last step that one time. I called the police immediately and he never came home again. They found more images on his computer and a 20-minute video, full front view of his face as he tries to hide the camera. He pleaded guilty and received 40 years with a 34-year suspended sentence. He will have to register as an offender and has some pretty stiff rules to follow, such as no alcohol, no items that can connect to the internet unless he pays for a company to put monitoring software on every internet-accessible device. The day I found it, I sent him to work with a kiss. I found the images around 11:30 and had surrendered the tablet and gotten the case started with the police by 11:45. The first minute I could not believe it, the second minute I broke down, then thought about ignoring this disturbing little secret, but I could not, no matter how much I loved him. His action caused him to lose everything he took for granted that he always would. Our daughter was 5 at the time that I made this discovery, and for her he just disappeared one day. Now I am watching her grow and mature into a beautiful person and he doesn't get the privilege of even knowing this beautiful child. I'm sure that separation has hurt him a lot, but you don't get trusted with any child, even your own, after you do something like that.